Anyway, what's up, guys? Welcome to the seventh podcast. This time for real. This is the
This is the
seventh
seventh.
podcast. Huh?
This is the seventh. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the seventh podcast. We don't have a guest today, so we have Kato friend, um, and we have Udit joining us again. Obviously, slightly bigger beard and mustache. It's coming back.
It's just a stubble. I think I'll
Yeah.
maintain this for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. So we have probably a few topics to discuss today. It was kind like there were a few controversies last week. Sorry, the past week regarding CDPR, crunch. Then wait, let me just bring out the topics list. CDPR crunch. Oh, and the new Minecraft updates came out yesterday, which is big. There's like updating caves and cliffs. Have you played Minecraft with it?
I don't play Minecraft, dude, but I keep following your passion
Right.
about it. Yeah.
So okay, that's one way to put it. Um, Minecraft update. Xbox Game Pass is getting EA, and PS5 has only 600 something GB usable space in the
Indeed.
both thing. Is that a rumor or has that been confirmed?
I am not sure.
I think that's a rumor at the moment. Yeah, and Ubisoft is again on the news because apparently an internal survey in Ubisoft says that 1 in 4 employees have experienced or witnessed misconduct, which is interesting. And I'm very curious if that applies to the Indian Ubisoft studios as well when they talk about internal survey. And the last topic is Genshin Impact, the big new Chinese free-to-play game. That's kind of like a clone of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and something that I've been playing quite a lot, and Udit also started, and everyone's happy because this is a cross-platform game. It's on mobile, it's on PC, it's on like just PS4, but I think it'll come up to
no,
other.
it's on Switch as well, I think.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. It's on Switch as well.
Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting. I have never seen a cross-platform mobile game that's on that level. So yeah, let's talk about all of that. Let's start with CDPR crunch. Why don't you take it off with it?
I think Jason Schreier, who had previously covered the thing with CDPR, where I think it was a year ago, where they said they were hitting an April 2019 deadline, and they promised that there would not be mandatory crunch that they would enforce, and they wanted to make the scenario as worker friendly as possible. So what I wanted to talk to was to basically break this topic into two parts. First is like our opinions on CD Projekt Red itself and how they're tackling and the nuances there. And the second is how the audience has been reacting to this, which I think is a far more interesting conversation to have. But we'll get to that later. So CD Projekt Red, this has been going for 7 years. The project has been in development for 7 years, and and we are not we there has been no shortages of the story of mismanagement so far in terms of other projects at CD Projekt Red. 2020, though, let me get certain things in their defense upfront. 2020 has been a very weird year, and I'm sure they wanted to get this out in November, because you want to get this out pre-Thanksgiving, because that's in December. Very few big releases really happen in December, and the next releases happen much later in the next year, which is something they probably did not want to do, and they still have the creditors that they have to pay. And
Yeah,
sort of
I think delaying a game for a third time itself is very bad.
yes,
Like
yes.
for PR and marketing and everything, right?
Right. So that, I think, was a huge issue. So CD Projekt Red, while they do have really, they have a lot of money right now, but they're not on infinite funds, right? So I do understand that they wanted to commit to that deadline. That being said, uh, people have been coming on defense saying that the crunch has only been for 6 weeks. But the thing is, like, you have to keep in mind that is mandatory crunch, right? So crunch could have been in various parts of the project, which should have been certain sections would have been working overtime, certain sections would not have been working overtime, but those are still considered as crunches with parts, right? But this is all hands on board for 6 weeks.
Mhm.
And As far as the statements, I think this was something that goes, obviously this does go directly against what they said, which they said that they would not put this thing, which ideally I don't think any in a game industry, I don't think anybody should, if there was a lawyer in that room, that guy would immediately be like, don't say something like that, right? They kind of shot
I think they
themselves in
have
the
the good intentions, but even they did
Yeah,
not
I
expect.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand they had the good intentions. That's why I'm like, 2020 has been a weird year. People have been working from home, right? That automatically delays all your plans by 2-3 months at least, right? Communications have to.
And I think
Their own
I don't think people understand, like, just I want to interrupt you for a simple thing, is
Sure.
that when game developers work, right, and it's a very collaborative process where, say if you're designing a level, there's one person standing behind you telling you that the level maybe should be like another thing, and then someone else is telling you, no, the animation should be in another way, and this communication in an office happens in seconds, right? Whereas if it's work from home, say I'm working on the level design and someone else is working on the animation and someone else is working on the art and whatnot, that communication time increases because everyone is in their separate places, and that causes a lot of delays. It's not just technically the skill power or equipment, but just the fact that people are far away from each other, which kind of has
No, you're
issues.
absolutely right here. The biggest issues that happen with delays is the project pipeline management and the communication of how to move around with the projects, and that's what happens, right? Like, a project manager's most important thing is to ensure that everybody is preoccupied and nobody is blocked, right? Right, if a designer has moved done something, he has to get that something pushed to the programmer so that the programmer is occupied and his time slot is being very well managed, right? And if that's not happening, you have to get on calls, right? And those processes get delayed by a huge margin if you're working from home, right? I'm not saying that this is not you can't manage these things, right? But there are companies that have done that. Ori in the Will of the Wisp was completely developed, but that was developed from the start, right? That was the production was completely managed with and the deadlines were set with the expectation that everybody is going to be working from home and developing this, right? Moving a complete company that was working in an office to that environment is obviously going to cause them. So I am empathetic to that decision, right? That being said, uh, 7 years is a long time,
Yeah.
and and I do understand that mandatory crunch, and they are being compensated for it.
Yeah.
Uh, but it gets a little dicey, and I'm not one to speak from the perspective from the side of the people who are working there. But I ideally, if you give me a choice between being paid more or having a little more time for my sanity, I would choose this one. But I'm at a different point in my life. I don't know what other people would choose.
I think the choice isn't there, right? That's the main
Yeah,
issue.
that's the problem.
It's
Yeah.
mandatory, and I'll just bring up the Jason Schreier's tweet from where is it? Where did it go? Yeah. Yeah, so apparently crunch was happening for quite some time. It's not something that's recent. So
No, no, for
that's
sure.
one
That's
thing.
what I said, right?
Yeah.
Crunch is a very complicated thing, right?
Yeah.
It can mean a very small section of the team will be working overtime for that particular month, right? Because they have to get certain things done for the other teams. It can mean that the whole company is crunching. It can mean that you're working probably 2-3 extra hours that day. And the thing is, like, see, if I'm in a company, right, and I'm a boss, right, I tell you that, hey man, get this thing done by the week, right? And you are an employee and you know this is not going to get done by the week, right? But you can't say that to the boss,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So what are you gonna do? You're gonna churn in extra hours on the weekend to make sure that thing somehow gets done. Those fall under the line, but that's a very realistic thing that happens
Understood.
development.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. Something that you want, like you mentioned in the beginning. I do understand how CDPR, where CDPR is in this position. They have
Right.
already delayed the game twice. It's easily one of the most anticipated games of the year of this generation, I might say,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Because after
Possibly the biggest.
Witcher, yeah, after Witcher
Yeah.
3, they set very high standards for
Right.
gamers everywhere in terms of quality, in terms of storytelling. Storytelling is something that they especially put a badge on themselves as for, right? They're one of the best storytellers and RPG game makers in the world at this point. What
Yeah.
the biggest problem I think I see with what is happening, however, is how the fans are dealing with it. That's something you mentioned.
Oh. Yeah.
Right, yeah, fans are like I've been in say Facebook groups of CDPR, Cyberpunk 2077, and other places, forums and everything. Fans are, it's a bit scary, and I don't think they understand the irony in some of the statements they're saying. They're saying things like, oh, it's just 6 days a week, take it up snowflakes, whatever, they're getting compensated and whatnot. So here's the thing, they are getting compensated, but what you guys do not realize is that in Cyberpunk itself, this is very ironic, because Cyberpunk itself is a story about how there are big corporations that are making people work overtime, and they have control over their lives, which is technically what is happening. If people are working overtime in your office and not going back to their home, you have control over their lives over a certain degree, right? And everything is solved by just money, right? In
And
Cyberpunk.
the scary idea of cyberpunk genre was the fact that corporations have kind of replaced as these deities, right? As monarchs,
Yes,
right?
yes,
They're
everyone worships corporations, and that's something that we see happening with CDPR as well. Something I want to
Right.
say, that even though CDPR probably has very good leaders right now, and they are certainly much better than a lot of people in the industry, and I've said this in other places, right? I've said this in different comments, and when people asked me, is that because CDPR is in a such a high because CDPR has such high standards, we should not lower the bar for them. The criticism also has to be on that level. We cannot apply Ubisoft's bar for games and how they treat employees to CDPR and be like, oh, at least it's better than Ubisoft, right? That's
People went a little bit more than that. They were like, "Hey man, this is the weirdest part." Over here. Hey man, this is all that is way better than stuff IT companies in India, right? We don't even get paid overtime, etc., etc. Why are you guys complaining? I'm like,
yeah.
man. Well, that's not the way to do things, man. Just
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I find it continuously baffling at sometimes that people are so willing to lower the bar for criticism and lower the bar for standards across the world, and especially Indians. Like if you're probably Indian if you're watching this, but if you are one of those people who are defending CDPR and the fact that they're it's a complicated place, because like we mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, this COVID happened 2020, a lot of delays happened, so a lot of things are happening that they did not expect, and I'm sure they thought that by this time they would be out with the game. But what you have to understand is that since CDPR is in such a respectable place in the views of the public, right, the criticism should be also on that level. You cannot bring down that criticism in the sense that, and like I said, Ubisoft, right? And that's where I find it very weird. If you are asking CDPR to treat gamers properly and give a good game, you should ask CDPR to also treat their employees fairly. And they're trying. I will say this much: they are definitely trying. They are saying 10% of the profits will go or be divided into the employees. They are also, apart from that, they are also getting compensated for the overtime. But yeah, the problem with the mandatory overtime today is the fact that CDPR themselves had agreed that overtime is bad, and themselves said that they want to be leaders in an industry where they do not want to have mandatory overtime. They want to be that flag bearer of game industry that is not working without overtime, and trying to make sure their employees are fairly treated, and the gamers are also treated. Like, their employees are treated in the same way they treat gamers. So, if anything, CDPR bought this on themselves, because they were the ones who said,
That's why I said, if there was a lawyer in that room, he would have been like, don't commit things like these. No, we're not in game development. Okay, and again, going back to the community, I mean, we remember when the story of Naughty Dog broke out, right? When we got to know about Naughty Dog's crunch, and even though they did compensate their employees with payment, and they did give them extra leaves, Naughty Dog did not. Let's just say Naughty Dog did not receive the similar kind of justification that CD Projekt Red got, right? In terms of the reception of how their crunch culture was handled. It was what I'm saying. You can't pick and choose your criticisms based on how,
I think that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons why Cyberpunk has so many fanboys defending it right now is because of the fact that it got delayed twice already, and by a large time, right? It got delayed after Keanu Reeves revealed it in E3 last year, and then immediately after it's like, no.
Like, see you after 3 more John Wick movies. I understand you. But the thing is, like, still a video game at the end of the day. I mean, with the 2020 has graced us with plenty, and okay, I understand people why they're almost salivating for this game and stuff. But that's somebody's life out there, man. Like, I mean, to be so much to go to an extent where say like you cannot wait for a delay and that crunch is justified is going a little bit too far in my opinion. And then saying it no other, we have not, this is what aggravated most to me was like when people said this is the way it has always been, and there's no company that has done better. That is not true, firstly, right? I keep bringing this over and over again, but we have had cases of AAA games that have been developed with proper pipelines. Insomniac Games has developed Spider-Man. They produced a proper pipeline. I remember, I don't know the exact details, but they never said, they said 2018, but they didn't give the deadline exactly when they'd release it. I think sometime in July, they said it's coming on September 2018, and it released on September 2018. I don't think it was delayed. Then the DLCs, they said that the DLCs will be released in few months after that. What happened was they actually advanced the release date. Like, we're done with the work, it's coming 2 weeks earlier. So there is a model. That game was not only Sony's, it was Sony's biggest IP launch, right? The first IP launch. And it got nominated for Game of the Year. It had no microtransactions. So that model exists. An open world game can be done and can be developed sustainably. It's all about planning and probably receding on certain expectations. But when people say that this is the way it's always done, you don't understand development, that games like this can't be done without crunch, that I don't agree with, right? And we should stop being I mean, okay, it's just like, I understand your fanboyism a little bit, but understand that the people who are probably criticizing also have the best intentions for the gaming industry with them.
Right? And some people are saying, like, some of the worst comments that I've seen is that journalism is dead, apparently, because they reported on the Cyberpunk crunch being a thing. I was like, are you crazy? That's the one thing journalists are doing right. They're reporting on these things properly. And that's a great thing. That's not journalism dying. That's journalism thriving and doing its job properly. Right.
Exactly. Journalism was meant to be for the people.
And here's the thing. A lot of people said the CDPR employees are not complaining, so why are the critics? Here's the thing. If the fact that the mandatory crunch time happened was was sent into an email, and that email leaked to Jason Schreier, that's why he knows about it. If the employees were satisfied, that email would have never leaked to begin with, correct?
I'm just gonna say to those people, like, if you're dissatisfied with your work, are you gonna openly say that this company is exploiting me in public? Right? You have so many responsibilities and stuff that's like keeping you in check, right? There's people have needs. I mean, I don't think I need to explain the reason why some people can't speak out against things.
Yeah.
Oh man, you want Cyberpunk, you're living in it. Yeah.
My worst problem with the entire CDPR crunch problem is my worst issue with the CDPR crunch problem is the fact that they're fanboys, not CDPR themselves. I can see
Yeah.
that they're trying their best to make sure that their employees are not dissatisfied. They're paying overtime. They're making sure that you'll never go back to your manager and say, I'm not feeling nice working here because of overtime and
Right.
stuff, especially once an mandatory overtime notice has been given. That
Right.
means that, regardless of what you think about higher ups and stuff,
It's
yeah,
it's peer pressure again, right?
yes,
People just everybody is doing it, so what's wrong with you,
yeah.
right?
So there's a lot of things. If you've worked in corporations, companies, or if you've worked in general, these things happen, like,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, my biggest problem, however, with this entire thing is the fans. Very, very toxic fans. I don't know how this can be fixed, particularly because CDPR does not have a hold on the fans. Of course, this is not an online game by any means. There's like just an offline community, and everyone's scattered around. But it's very disrespectful to see a lot of people saying that, oh, it's just 6 days a week. What's the issue? Right? Oh, it's just mandatory crunch time. If they didn't like it, they could have gone to some other studio or industry. Is CDPR? That's kind of the problem. If they leave, 10 other people will join in CDPR, right? And then other
Right.
people will be in crunch. You would still have crunch.
And this is how the industry has been burning out of employees. Like that's what
Yes.
it's the biggest problem gaming industry is facing, right? That the industry is bleeding talent
Yes,
rather than
and I
yeah.
want to mention here as well, you brought up Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog had this problem where they burnt out employees and they couldn't get replacement of similar trained, experienced employees because most of the experienced employees left because of crunch.
Exactly.
Quite a few of them left because of crunch and they
Right.
couldn't be replaced. If you want CDPR as a company to not go down the line of, say, something like Blizzard or EA, just mediate your expectations and make sure your criticism, like, don't go after the critics. There's no point. If the critics are wrong, if the critics are actually just throwing around words, no one will pay them attention to begin with, right? People can understand when people, and this is not even just throwing around words. Like, I don't see why people can't understand. In 2020, when there's already so much stress and everything that's happening in the world, you genuinely should be spending more time with your family and doing things
Exactly.
right and doing what you like to make sure your mental health is sane. You don't want people to work overtime. Like I said, CDP are trying their best to make sure, I'm sure, because at least their communication seems along those lines. We don't generally see when studios make their employees work overtime, we don't see that kind of public notices where they say, I will take the blame, right? The CEO themselves came out and said, like, sorry, it is our fault. And this is a complete mismanagement on the top level,
Right.
because if it wasn't the game, it wouldn't be like, you don't have crunch because one developer at the bottom isn't doing their work, right?
Right.
It's because the expectations have been set from the top line and the expectations sometimes are unrealistic. So yeah.
Right.
If you're a fan of Cyberpunk 2077 and CDPR, what I'll suggest is just listen to the critics, mediate your expectations, and just ask for better for the employees who are working to create something you guys love. At the end of the day, yeah.
So to add to that, Aman, it's like no matter how much attachment you have to this game, understand that the developers have way more attachment to
Yeah.
it, right? This is something that's kind of like their child that they're growing for like 7 years. And the last thing that those guys want to think is like, I just want to be done with this. I
Yeah.
don't want to talk about this game
Yeah.
at all, because that's what happens when you crunch for like it's 16 hours, right? You go home, you don't want to talk about those things,
Yeah.
right? You don't want to that labor of thing to be something that you hate. You look back and completely hate, right?
Yeah.
That you don't want that as a developer. And well, if you still want to continue down the path, just be aware that the genre that Cyberpunk was built upon criticizing everything that you're standing for right now.
Yeah. That's the most ironical thing. So yeah, if you I don't know if this will ever be seen by a CDPR employee, but they're doing an amazing job. I really applaud them for building such an amazing game that's looking like such an amazing game. I just hope that they're not burnt out by the end and they don't hate the product that they're making because of the overtime crunch and everything. I hope for the best for the employees more than anything else. Like even more than expecting the game to be good, I hope the employees don't burn out because from what we've seen, the game is pretty decent already. Yeah, I just hope we don't see another Blizzard or Activision or EA, right? Or BioWare. There's been lots of examples of studios that died because of similar things, and I would personally not want CDPR to be one of those companies, a long list of companies, and rather
Indeed.
actually be the flag bearer where they are trying to fix these issues of crunch and everything. But yeah, I think that's about it from my side for this topic. Do you want anything else to say?
No, that's in my piece.
Yeah. I just had a lot of thoughts about this, and yeah, I just don't like the fans, how they're reacting, some of the fans. Fortunately, some people do see the irony. I did like comment stuff like it is a very cyberpunk thing to do to make other people work overtime for your luxuries, and that's what's happening, right? And you're not sacrificing your time. You are saying someone else is sacrificing their time, and you are okay with it.
Right.
Just think about that statement a while, and you'll understand what's wrong. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. New Minecraft update came. This won't be more than 5 minutes. Let me see if there's like a video of this. But new Minecraft update, no, I've been announced, not came. Is the caves and cliffs update where the caves are being the generations of caves are much bigger and everything. Wait, let me see. I wish there's like 2-hour live stream. I don't know if I want to show that.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I want to show like if there's like a smaller thing, hopefully. Minecraft. Oh yeah, we can. What's this? How long is this? But to give you guys without a basic idea of what's happening in Minecraft. Yeah, caves are getting bigger generation. There are new mobs coming in to the world of Minecraft. There is a goat coming. There's like a thing called Guardian, I think, which is like a mob you'll find underground while you're mining. So you can get like basically crapped on your head that way. I didn't want to use abuse, so I was like thinking, what should I say? And yeah, this is a big update apparently, and very cool. Do you play Minecraft?
No, I don't play Minecraft, right? Like I said, I've been meaning to get into it for the longest time.
Right.
I really want to, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's about like it for Minecraft update. It's
I
big.
suck at these games, dude. Like I really want to get into them, but I'm terrible at them.
You should get into our server. We have a multiplayer server called India 3020 where we are all building like just like 20-30 people is there. So it's like casual Minecraft experience.
Right.
No one's hardcore. It's like it's a very relaxing game if you have the right people to play with it, and it's very cool. We celebrated Silage's birthday in Minecraft.
I saw that. Yeah.
So it's very social in a lot of ways. I even did an art, like I helped. How do you say this? Someone did an article. I basically helped give them advice on that article or like my inputs. This article was by Nat Geo Traveler some months back. And it was basically about how during COVID time everyone's socializing in video games, about how people are socializing in something like Animal Crossing to make people meet people and stuff. And I told them about how we have this community of people that regularly meets in Minecraft and stuff. So yeah, that's something. Games are a very nice way to meet and socialize with people even during these times. And Minecraft is definitely one of the biggest games in that category. It's already been going on since 2009, I think. So yeah, big deal. It's 1.17, and I am really excited what 3 years down the line what will happen when we finally get something like 2.0, right?
Minecraft is on a roll. They even got into Smash, man. Like
yeah. They had to redesign all Smash stages because they added Steve and skins of Steve in Minecraft. They even made Kirby square to fit those squares, which is hilarious and pretty interesting. Yeah, short
They
topic.
go all out with it.
Yeah.
Decorate somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, this is something I want to say before we move on to the next topic. Microsoft bought this studio, Mojang, and they've been doing very good stuff with it. Not only are the updates more consistent and nice, they are in all platforms. They're treating their gamers very respectfully. They're treating their employees very respectfully. It's amazing. I'm pretty interested to see how things go in the future for Minecraft. It's already such a great game, and it's getting better every year.
Yeah, they had what happened to that spin-off? They had a movie as well, and they had the Telltale game as well, right?
They had a Telltale game. I don't remember what happened to the movie. I remember something like a movie was announced.
It's on Netflix. So I'm wondering what other does the studio plan on diverging in other things, or do they just plan on focusing on Minecraft?
So the studio has made a second game, which is Minecraft Dungeons, which is like an ARPG.
Oh, right. I know that. Yeah,
which is basically Diablo but in Minecraft format. That's for the moment. It's okay. It's not great, but it's not bad either. The problem is that the game is very short. You can just rush. If you're an experienced ARPG player, like if you played Diablo all your life, if you played Path of Exile, you can just rush through the content and you'll barely in 10 hours. And so it's meant more like a kids game as an introduction to ARPG rather than something that experienced ARPG players can take off. So they're doing something there, but I'm guessing that's also something like a live service game. Most Microsoft games these days are live service games, so I guess they will slowly update it. I don't know what their forward path is, but I'm very interested to see what goes on there. Yeah, speaking of Xbox and Microsoft, Xbox Game Pass is also getting EA Play in Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and there's more news to the entire Xbox versus PS drama, which is earlier this week we got a notice that Xbox will only have some 800 GB of free space because apparently the OS is 250 GB, right? Which is weird because Microsoft Windows is in 250 GB on like PC.
Yeah, I wonder what that is all about.
Yeah, but if that was and a lot of people hated on Microsoft, like every PS fanboy came out is like, yeah, what even, like. And day before yesterday we got the news that there's a rumor that PS5 only has like 650 GB of free space because their OS is even bigger. Which is so weird. And
what is happening? Is any of this confirmed?
The Xbox thing is confirmed. The PS5 not so much, I think. But it would be hilarious because, and if to give to perspective why this is so hilarious to me in particular, is because games are day in and day out becoming bigger and bigger. I shared this meme yesterday night on my Facebook, which is basically
the Call of Duty one.
Call of Duty Warzone is effectively more than 250 GB in size right now, and that means that it doesn't fit into a 250 GB SSD anymore. No more updates. It can't update itself. So I'm just wondering what happens in the near future. I hope to God like Cyberpunk is in like some 150 GB, 200 GB. GTA 5 was 60 GB. Red Dead Redemption was like some 90 or 80 GB. So yeah.
So this is where I want to know how the developers are going to utilize the SSD, because that's what they said, right? Because of the use of SSD, they won't have to cake in and directly load all the assets on the level, right? And they said how that might help compress some of the size. I hope that pulls through, because otherwise it's going to be a huge problem.
Yeah. It's weird. But because of the entire PS5 news, a lot of people are now skeptical. PS5 digital is in a bit of a, so if you're going for digital, I think we discussed this last week as well. But if you're going for digital, maybe think about it again, because each game costs like 5K over digital. Exactly. So even though you'll be paying less for a much better spec console in the beginning, compared to say something like Xbox Series S, you'll be paying much more overtime in digital.
Right.
Because in digital, what I've seen most of my friends with console is that they exchange disc. Like if I'm done with the game, I'll give the disc to you. You play the game, then you give the disc to someone else, and so on. And there's a lot of cost saving because of that. Digital effectively does not have that. I don't know what's going to be the thing with family sharing, because
family sharing and people share accounts. I guess that's the most.
Yeah, I guess that will still be available, because that was available in PS4 from what I'm aware. But yeah, Xbox is looking more and more on par with PlayStation every week.
I have to say, Xbox is looking lucrative, especially with that EA thing as well, because a lot of people had not been on board with buying EA games, right? They didn't want to support that company because of its practices and stuff. But if you're getting it for free on Game Pass, I mean, sure, why not, right?
EA Play is coming on November 10th, and they do have some really big titles, like things like Battlefront, things like Sims 4,
they have the entire Star Wars franchise. They have huge things.
Yeah, they have. EA is easily one of the bigger.
And the next Dragon Age is also going to be on Game Pass then, I guess.
I'm not very excited. I
don't care, but I'm just saying some people might, like a tiny 3% of people still care about that franchise.
Yeah, I'm a big RPG fan, but most of the amazing talent from BioWare left. I don't know what.
I would have cared 3 years ago.
Same. I wouldn't have actually cared 3 years ago either. Dragon Age Inquisition wasn't that great. The main villain of Dragon Age, I keep forgetting the name also.
The reason I was excited for the fourth game was because of the cliffhanger it ended on with Solus.
Right.
Even I don't remember the villain. The villain was the most incompetent villain in video game
history. It's a cookie cutter villain, like comes in the beginning, flashes things and goes away.
Disappears, and he's always one of the first times when I've seen the villain is actually 2 steps behind the heroes at all times. I'm like, never a threat.
In that Dragon Age Inquisition, I just went around hunting dragons and not ignoring the main storyline. So that was the thing. Yeah, I'm not very excited for BioWare games, but if they remake Mass Effect's trilogy, that is something I'm definitely interested in. I would love to play that with proper facial animations from the beginning. And EA Play coming to Xbox Game Pass is pretty big. It's not just coming to consoles, but it's coming to PC as well. And Xbox is seeming much better every passing week. I can't and I've been one of the people consistently since the beginning said this. Xbox is not going to take this generation laying back. They're maybe a bit slow on the start, but they have a very methodical approach, and they're like this big huge construction trucks that's slowly moving forward, and then nothing will stand in the way.
Again, this is exactly like Ford v Ferrari, where you know how Ferrari had been beating for a while, and Ford was like, no, I'm going to put all my money, we're going to win this time, GT Le Mans is ours. All right, it's like, and I think even in Acid Cast days, this is what we said, right? We kind of said like Xbox is kind of taking an L on this generation, but they're kind of gearing up for the next one, right? That was what even in the Acid Gas days we get, and we're kind of seeing that slowly bloom right now.
Yeah, I think we said that once we saw Phil Spencer come on board, right? I remember seeing his entire work methods and how he press conferences and everything, and you could see it in his eyes. He's excited about video games. He's not the previous CEO, or he was not like the previous Xbox head who was like, if you're in Afghanistan and if you're a US soldier and if you don't have internet, why don't you play on the Xbox 360 instead?
I can say that they are sneaky as hell. They give these interesting public speeches and be all consumer friendly. They're like, exclusives are absolutely not what gaming is about. Bethesda, come over here. I don't even blame them for this.
Yeah, I love that. I love that Xbox is bringing up the competition, and I think we are going to see Sony also double down.
What was that rumor about Warner Bros? Why are people sharing that? Is that a thing?
I don't think that's going to be a thing, because
I don't think that's a thing either.
Because the reason I don't think that's going to be a thing is because AT&T, the parent company of Warner Brothers Games, has they put out a statement or something, like a rumor came out that they were initially wanting to sell Warner Brothers, and then they thought, oh wait, no, games are making a lot of money, and especially during pandemic, right? So yeah, if you have a game company during pandemic, you generally don't want to sell it off.
Valuable resource.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bethesda wasn't doing well in comparison, and Bethesda, so like the owners got the money, so yeah, it's a full buyout. It's like if AT&T sold themselves to Microsoft, then that's more viable. But I don't see Sony buying Warner Brothers. However, I do see Sony buying someone. I do see Sony either buying someone or making more studios in this generation to counter the fact that Xbox has 23 studios.
Shuhei Yoshida, who was their head before, has moved on to work on their indie segment. So he's going to be pushing that. But in AAA, yes, I do. They've been grooming the studio for the longest time with Uncharted stuff, which is believed to be making the next Uncharted. Or they're working on certain games, but they have taken their own talent and put them in other smaller studios and are slowly grooming that. I think that is happening, and I do think they will buy one studio.
Right.
I think bets on Konami, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah. I expect whatever. I think two things will happen. I think one, they will buy a studio, like a big publisher, whoever they can afford, because again, like we discussed last week, Sony isn't as rich as Microsoft. They're like an $80 billion company, where Microsoft is 1.5 trillion. But I do see them buying someone, and I do see them making more studios from scratch, because they are better at this than Microsoft, building studios from scratch.
The advantage of Sony has, it's a very interesting story. Like for those, this Game Maker's Toolkit has a great story on how they how Insomniac and Naughty Dog basically got in touch. Naughty Dog has been has existed before PlayStation, by the way. They've been existing since 80s. They've been making math games.
Yeah, they made Banjo-Kazooie or something.
Banjo-Kazooie. I think it was Jack and Daxter and Crash Bandicoot. I don't think was it by them? I'm not sure. But no, Banjo-Kazooie was, I think, fuck it, I don't remember. So the thing is, Sony grew up because they and in their history, they've had a plenty of good industry relationship with a lot of developers.
Yeah,
that's something that they have, right? So when they want to form studios, they have that goodwill where people will want to come and work under their ecosystem, which is a very developer-friendly ecosystem. So they have that which they can leverage.
They're not like CDPR.
I mean, Naughty Dog is one of the studios, though.
Okay. So fair. Sorry, that backfired on me.
It is so hilarious that, once Naughty Dog and Insomniac used to share 2 floors, and they developed into completely different kind of companies.
Yeah.
They have the yin and yang, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah. Let's see how it goes.
I keep speaking about this in every podcast, but I think this is the generation when Indian developers and Indian studios might come up. Exactly. Because this is this generation will easily last at least 6-7 years, right? And we are already seeing Indian developers come up in a bigger way, with things like Raji coming out and others, right?
If you are an aspiring developer now, would be a good time to in India. Yeah. If you're making plans, sticking in India is a good prospect. I think so.
There's quite a lot of things going here. Cheap labor. The fact that internet infrastructure in general is very cheap in India, like owning land and stuff like that, and other things. And this is what I recently saw. I was seeing why Blizzard was doing so bad. About from a video from Bellular Games. I don't know if you follow him, but he was speaking about how you mentioned this before the podcast when we were having chat about how Cyberpunk's entire budget is like 120 million, I think.
Yes,
and that's quite less compared to something like, say, Destiny, which was originally 500 million, like $500 million, right? That was easily one of the most expensive games ever made. but in terms of content, it's nothing in comparison to what we see in Cyberpunk 2077, and that's partly because Bungie, I think, is from California, or
and the rent and expenses of everything there is
skyrocket. It's like food is expensive, rent is expensive, housing is expensive. Not only do you have to pay, so for the normal people, if I have to make you understand, if you are staying in California, you need a big salary just to survive, right? Not to thrive, just to survive.
Imagine Kolkata and Mumbai.
Yeah.
Right, and how Mumbai, even if you paid a lot, the home you'll rent you'll probably be sharing with 3 people, right? Yeah. And the biggest you'll have is like 1 room.
Yeah. So to give you a perspective, my friend stays in Mumbai. He stays in like 1 BK, which is like 1 bedroom, 1 kitchen. There's no hall, and it costs him like 16K a month, right? And in comparison, you can get like an entire 3 BHK flat in Kolkata for like 20-25, right? So that should give you guys an idea of like what it's like to live in California, which is of course much higher in the thing. But the reason why a lot of people try to open their studios in California and over the expensive places is because the talent apparently is there, and the talent is there because the studios are there. So it's like a cycle, right? And that's the cycle people like CDP are trying to break, and that's this cycle. That's why I think that, you know, Indian studios will thrive this generation. We will see a lot of Indian games coming out. We'll see a lot of Indian studios open up, indie studios, as well as maybe first party studios by Xbox and PlayStation. We might definitely see that, because not only is the development and like development talent coming up, and there's the overhead costs are less, but Indian gamers are also coming up. Even if they're not buying things, they are watching things. They're mindshare that you want to have. If you have 100 million Indians talking about your game, even if they don't buy it, they're still spreading the message, and that's great. That's great for you, right? And we have seen similar things with PUBG Mobile and others. So yeah, I'm very optimistic this generation about seeing a lot of things happen in India, in development side, in a lot of infrastructural way, not just esports per se, not just the viewing angle of things as streamers, but also people coming out. And I'm very excited. It's one of the generation I'm very excited about. I wasn't this excited about PS4 in particular, or Xbox One. Xbox One I didn't like at all. PS4 back then didn't have games, to be very honest. And today Xbox is coming out with Age of Empires 4, so I am fully in Xbox team. Because of but yeah, I am pretty excited to see what they do. What do you think about this?
No, that's a very interesting point, especially since Raji has hit the door and India has finally got some mainstream article coverage, right? And that itself, and obviously there has been no shortage in how much the industry has boomed in terms of within the last 3 years, right? In terms of the opportunities, in terms of the coverage, in terms of how many people are watching, how many people are making content here, right? And anybody who's had a head, who looks at these things, and obviously Sony has the marketing suits, and they're like, dude, there's this huge country with 1 billion people, right? And they are, that's an untapped market, right? We should get there right now, like, especially when, you know, with the last generation, gaming became so huge, right? Now people are going and exploring other avenues, right? And you're seeing different Asian companies come up. Asian companies come up and take more share outside Japan, right? I do see if you're staying around and in India and are working games, I do think this is the golden age, like how we have.
Or it's about to start, rather.
Yeah,
it's about to start.
Exactly. This is the start of the golden age, in my opinion.
I think the start is still 2 years away, but I think it's just around the corner.
Let's just say the inception, the inciting incidents.
Yeah. You're seeing the first glimmer of hope with things like Rajiv, things like Prince of Persia remake, and others.
I mean, it could also go terribly wrong. So
don't... No, I don't think I don't think it will go terribly wrong. Partly because India is so big, right? India is so big. There's so many people. There's a lot of room for experimentation just simply because of that. And that's one of the reasons I don't think it will go wrong. Speaking of which, this is not a topic we decided to speak on today, but I just want to say something. For Indian game development to be big, Indian gamers have to do one thing, very particular, not buy games. Buying games is obvious, like you buy games when you support, and if you cannot afford, at least try to do whatever from your side to promote the game, make other people buy, whatever, right? Don't pirate it, try to family share, things like that, right? But the one thing I wanted to mention is how gambling apps are saying that they're gaming in India. This is something I want to talk about for like just 10 minutes.
I know a game company exactly that, just makes gambling games.
Forget game company. I want to talk about one of the biggest companies in India that's doing this right now. Got banned from Google Play Store and has Sachin Tendulkar as their mascot, which is Paytm for his games. Which is Paytm for his games, right? Paytm for his games is easily one of the biggest game development studios, quote unquote. If you can call them even that, but they're definitely a lot of money and they are doing a lot of things, and they're promoting gambling apps, they're promoting fantasy cricket, build your fantasy team and try to win stuff. That is gambling. That is you cannot convince me in any way that that is not gambling, and that is gambling. That's how fantasy, that's basically fantasy football. It's you put cricket instead of football. And a lot of people in India are completely fine with it. With games being gambling, especially influencers, they barely anyone speaks about these things, and I think it's abhorrent that people like the companies like Paytm for his games are saying that this is gaming, and they're counting it as the $1 billion gaming revenue in India and all that. That's comes from it. What I want to mention here particularly is the fact that Paytm First Games isn't small. They have Sachin Tendulkar as mascot. There are people like Sachin Tendulkar who are role models in the country promoting gambling, and they're saying these are games, and people are buying it. And Google recently banned Paytm because of them promoting gambling apps, and Google has this policy where you cannot promote gambling on their Play Store and whatnot. Right. And because of that, Paytm, along with a lot of other CEOs of different startups and companies in India, held a conference call of sorts and said that we cannot let two companies dictate what how to go about gaming and industry, not gaming in particular, but how to build about industry in India, and which I think is funny. You guys got banned not because Google thinks you're getting bigger than them, but you literally are promoting gambling.
You violated a fundamental rule that everybody else abides by, right?
Yeah, and it's not a fundamental, it's morally wrong, is what I want to say. And they came together with a con call to suggest that they are somehow giving back to the Indian public, and somehow Google and Apple are holding back. Holding these guys back from giving better products to them, which is hilarious and so sad.
Firstly, that is not true. Where it comes, you guys were not even innovative about a gambling game. Right?
You're not innovative about Paytm itself.
Yeah. So I find that to be funny. And secondly,
I want to mention, sorry for interrupting, Paytm is not even an Indian company anymore. It's owned by SoftBank, which is a Chinese investor. Its majority shares are by SoftBank. So before anyone comes into the comments and says at least promote India, at least they're doing something in India, shut up, right? Like seriously. They're a Chinese company.
We're going in a different.
No, but this is something that I just came to my head, and I kept thinking that I am thinking of some topic that I wanted to discuss. Apart from the CDPR thing, this is probably one of the most infuriating things for me this week, because it's happening right next door and no one's talking about it. There's not a single gaming influencer in India that's talking about this. There's not a single reputable famous person that's talking about this. There's not a thing, like no one understands why gambling is bad. Are you guys crazy? Gambling is bad. Don't promote gambling. It's literally that simple.
It's like
you won't say
2013 again, where we had like 10 topics straight on microtransactions and gambling and why gambling is bad, and I don't know why we
and see parents in India will not send their kids to a casino. Right. But they're like, okay, Sachin Tendulkar is saying, you play this.
So we brought the casino. So they brought the casino to your mobile, and that's the thing, man. The thing is, the most infuriating thing is utilizing Indian role model and being that Indian brand, supposedly, which they're not, using that. They have built it as an us versus them mentality, right? How are they coming and attacking us, our business, right? And they're portraying it as an attack on India. Fuck off with that shit. Right? No, you are extorting money out of India, and that's going nowhere except your pockets. I think the people outside have had more goodwill for the people here than whatever you're doing. Yeah, no, man, I'm on you. I'm in with you in that.
There are two things I'm very scared of, I want to point out. Not scared of. I want to point out. One of the thing is that one of the hopeful things is that since the entire outside of India industry, even China today, has kind of condoned gambling and loot boxes and other things in games. So even if India builds a game that's or something like Paytm first and it's becoming popular with kids, I think there will be a lot of international criticism, which is good and hopeful. But the second part is that if you see what Reliance Jio is doing, right, and Reliance Jio is fortunately not doing any gambling stuff yet, right, so that's good. But Reliance Jio has this closed bubble where they're selling like $50 phone and they're building games for that $50 phone, right? And that's an entirely ecosystem that's completely closed in India. That's not ecosystem that's available outside. No one plays those games. No one will play games like Bounce today because they abroad, because they can afford things, better things. Whereas Reliance is completely targeting the poor of the Indian society and like selling them games, whatever they can do, which is I have like mixed opinions on, but it's still okay.
Right, it's like, remember you got bootleg versions of movies in your stores, and you just be like, "Hey man, I don't have that movie. I'm just gonna get this instead." You're like, "What's wrong with that?"
But my problem with the second point is the fact that what if games that are built in India become popular within the closed space of India and they're exploiting the Indian user base?
I understand.
In a similar way of Paytm first games, say in games that apps are built in Hindi or some local languages and stuff like that. And that's where my kind of fear comes in about, because they're already game develop investors in India who are saying that Indian industry is a $1 billion in revenue, but they never mention the fact that the $1 billion in revenue is also the good chunk of that is from gambling and not anything else. So yeah, all of that I think is a bit scary. I hope hope that there is a lot of outcry from actual gamers, and I hope influencers and role models like famous people in India actually speak up about this, because at the end of the day you will see your kids and you will see your relatives and other people get dragged into this if this becomes too popular, and then you will be one of the people who will be ashamed for not speaking out earlier about these things.
Okay, fine. I'm a little bit, my hatred for the term influencers and how I feel they're boldly glorified salespeople here. But never mind, that's a rabbit hole. No, I share your fears in that, because we have seen time and time with other industries in India as well. It has mostly been about pivoting things to get the biggest buck and holding that ecosystem close towards yourself, right? And I understand why that fear could be bleeding into video gaming as well, and that's a very valid fear. The thing that keeps me passionate, more optimistic about gaming is because the platform of developing games has become so much more easier, right? From getting your game developed to publishing has become so much easier that a guy with a computer can do things like that now. Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm banking more on the indie games and the smaller companies.
Yeah, see, I know it will fix eventually, but I'm concerned about the short-term damage.
Oh, that'll definitely happen.
Yeah,
I see that as an.
I think we're already seeing a bit of that happen when we see things like Paytm First Games having Sachin Tendulkar as a mascot and them having a conference call saying, these two big companies are taking control, whereas they got kicked out because they were promoting gambling and they're completely trying to twist the narrative. So yeah. Right.
But here, what's interesting is that China actually produced one of the best
free-to-play games.
Speaking on a completely opposite side.
Yeah, so I guess that's cue for our next topic, which is Genshin Impact. I'll just play the trailer for Genshin Impact.
Or as we know, Breath of the Waifus.
Did you just make that up? But Genshin Impact is a game that I've been playing a lot recently. I've at least played like 30 hours, I think, over the last week. Which is
I did not expect this from you, man. What is this behavior?
So it's probably the first mobile game I'm very excited for. It does not play like a mobile game, which is very weird.
It is very well optimized on all platforms.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I don't know where to start. It's a great game. Game that I did not expect to see at all.
And your account is tied to I think all the platforms. Yeah, as long as you have your account, you can just play it from all the different accounts, and that's beautiful, I think.
So the save does not transfer from PS4, just that. But everything else is fine. Like if you're playing on PC, you can go back to your mobile phone and go progress from where you left off on PC. And I think this is available on Switch as like you said, but I don't know about that.
So my experience before, I once just 3 weeks ago I played their previous game called Honkai Impact.
Right.
And I was very impressed with the skill with these developers. And as you can see, Nintendo fans are immediately like writing like this is a Breath of the Wild clone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, and okay. The thing is, its inspirations are on its sleeve, and I do understand there is a bit of a asinine thing where even the animation cycles are kind of similar. I'll show you certain videos where even in Honkai Impact, they pulled animation cycles straight out of hack and slash games like DMC and Bayonetta, right? And here I see the dash animations. I'm like, that reminds me a bit of Nier Automata. Wait, this animation might be. So I'm like, oh, fine, okay, fair enough. It's free to play. These things are pass with the numbers. But I was really impressed with how the presentation of it all, man. Like, yeah, I played like 3-4 hours of it, and this could have passed out for a $30 game as well, and I think it would have done justice to this. Obviously, this is a gacha-based mechanic, but I think this is a very good example of a free-to-play game. I do believe that obviously the story, I haven't gone that far, so I'm not very impressed with that thing yet. But all the elements are here. The combat seems solid, and all the different characters do have enough variety for you to want to explore them. I remember I got Amber, which obviously she dresses Amber. She looks nothing like a knight, but if you press a special attack, she gets this cute doll out, right?
Yeah.
And that's an anime. And there is enough in here where you expect where you expect games like these where people will put that money in the gacha, where you make those individual characters appealing enough. But Aman, your opinion, because I did not expect you to get addicted with this as much as you are.
So here's the thing, I've been following this game from early this year, like almost January, and then I saw this game in PlayStation shows. So I don't know if it was the July show or something, but I did see it over there, and I was still impressed. And back then I was thinking, wait, they're saying this is a good JRPG, they're saying this is free to play, they're saying this has good combat and gameplay and all that. This is way too good to be true, right? I was like, and this is cross-platform. On top of everything, this is on mobile and this is on PC. I'm like, no way there's like a game like that. Because if you've been gaming as long as we've always wanted games like that, but never appeared. Obviously, it's much harder to actually make a game like that than just think of it in your head. And this game surprised me to no end, dude. Like the reason I'm saying it is because this is a free-to-play title. Like you said, I would be completely fine with paying $30 for this game, because not only is the story, I have seen. Okay, if I have to say anything about the story, I'll tell you this: I have seen AAA games that I've paid for with a cringier storyline than this, and this does not have a cringy storyline. This has a pretty
basic.
This has a very straightforward storyline that you get into, and after you grind, say if you're playing the game, if you went up to adventure rank 20, the storyline actually starts becoming interesting, and you're like, wait, what? Right? And that notion comes to you, and the world is huge. The gameplay is good. The gameplay is, even if you're playing on PC or mobile, it's actually pretty solid. There are combos, there's elemental combos, there's ways to there's not just just click tap 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 and that's how you win. There are different elemental mobs. So for someone like, there will be human type mobs who will take more damage from say fire. There will be mobs with shields that you have to break with fire, and there's mobs with stone shields that you'll have to break with, say, something like a hard two-handed sword. There are slimes, which is very common in JRPG games, but they're elemental slimes. So for example, if there's like a water slime, so there's a water slime and you can there's an ice slime, you can put fire in it and they'll get damage faster.
Right.
There's a water slime, you put ice, it will get frozen. There's a earth slime that if you put fire, it'll start burning, stuff like that. There's a lot of things happening, and every character has these two special attacks. One is an ultimate move that you have to charge over time, and then there's one basic attack, normal ability that has a cooldown basically. And these are also done very well. Every character has a specific element you follow.
Right.
Like the beginning character, you start with someone who gets the power of wind basically, right? And his ultimate is he can create a tornado, and then you get Amber, who has fire arrows. So what you can do is you can light up the grass underneath you, or you can hit opponent and put them on fire, and then you can throw the tornado and it becomes a fire tornado.
Right.
And every character kind of and this is a game where if you've played the game, you will kind of know where the gameplay mechanics lie. You will get a lot of companions over the game, right?
Exactly.
And the companions do not follow you around like in most RPG games. Instead, you control. You control one companion at any given time. So you have a party of 4, right? So what you generally do is you have to constantly switch between these guys to combo their elemental attacks to make sure they're dealing the maximum damage. Each character also can wield only one type of weapon. So say your original character can only wield a normal sword. Amber can the second character you get into the game, she can wield only a bow. Third character you can get is again a sword but an ice character, and the fourth character you get is like a mage with a book and can fire electricity. So there is a lot going into the game, and there's exploration. Okay, that's the gameplay solid. Exploration again solid, because you explore. There's a lot of chests to find, which is fine, but if that's not getting you interested, there's a lot of mini puzzles in the open world where you have to light up certain torches and do things to make sure that some like secret area is revealed, a secret chest is revealed. You go around doing a lot of things. There's a lot of enemies. The exploration in the game is very rewarded. If you go and search nook and crannies into the game, you will get something out of it, right?
So, do you want to talk about how your character is basically Spider-Man with no explanation whatsoever? Like in Breath of the Wild, the climbing is a huge mechanic.
Right.
But here you can just stick to walls no matter what. And I just the first time that happened, I was like, okay, I guess.
Yeah. The like you said, they are taking the inspiration on their sleeves. They do carry a lot of things from Legends, Zelda Legend of, what am I saying? Zelda Breath of the Wild. But it is much more than that. This is built more like an MMO game rather than a single player RPG like Zelda.
It's pure. The thing is, like, the reason the combinations work very well is because these strong design decisions imply that you will have to constantly ensure that your roster is filled with as many people with different abilities as possible, right? And that is something that you really want in a free-to-play game that depends on a gacha system where you can get more characters, right? So that is how, if you just build a good a system which promotes a person wanting to get more characters, that's how you do a good free-to-play, in my opinion. What I wanted to focus more on the exploration is like, they did not, to my amazement, they did not half-ass the world building of this game. Right? Where, in JRPGs, even in things like Dragon Quest, when I first went to the first kingdom and I saw these 2 NPCs staying there, I'm like, you're probably going to tell me about how to fucking chop wood or something like that. I was like, this is typical JRPG stuff, I know what. But when I talked to that kid was just talking about, hey, do you think that these creatures really stay there? I want to check that out. And then there's their parents behind them, and they're like, should we tell him about that, though they don't really exist? And then the guy is like, no, but we believed in weirder things when we were kids. We should like, and there was just a genuine conversations between those three that have just helped, had nothing to do with, probably has something to do with an encounter later, but was just so naturally put in there as a conversation between a family, right? And everybody I talked to, right? There was this quirky guy who was talking about all the weird people in the bar, right? The four drunkards of the city, right? And there's this guy with a Phantom Thief outfit, and he's like, hey man, this is a goth club, you're not allowed in here right now, and stuff like that. I explored everybody, and everybody had something to, it's like, even a notice has of a market where there's a notice that's put there, and it's like, friend came, I'm gone drinking. And you're just wondering, how much does everybody like drinking?
But what I want to mention is, like, again, I'm very honestly very surprised every time I go into this game. I'm playing this like I would play something like World of Warcraft, which is like just log in 1-2 hours a game and then do your dailies, do your weeklies, try to finish them off, get basic experience, get basic chests. But yeah, going back to the gacha system, which is basic for people who don't know, it's basically a loot box. Chinese loot box, but you get characters by doing this loot box thing. Here's the interesting part. This is where the game got sold for me. You can grind the premium currency. You can grind the premium currency in abundance. It's not like they're like chindi people. You know how in Clash of Clans they also give you premium currency. They're like 1 a week. Here you go, and you're like a beggar. Like, please, sir. No, not the same case for this game. I have already opened at least 10-13 bundles of loot boxes, and I haven't spent a single dime. And it's also rewarding because just because you can grind it, right? It does not feel like something like a pay to win. And you can grind it if you're actually grinding it, like say something, if you're playing something like, if you played ever World of Warcraft or MMORPGs, this is not going to be too much of a grind for you. If you played JRPG games, this is slightly more grindy than a single player JRPG game, and that sells it for me. And the story actually gets interesting, and the animations are actually amazing. If you start the game, you will know from the get-go, like, what the hell, right? From the beginning, when you select the twins, right? I think
everybody selected the girl.
Yeah, everyone.
I want to meet one person who selected the guy.
I selected the guy. What the hell?
Oh, you scum!
You're a weeb.
You have betrayed. No, you have betrayed the sacred.
Listen, just admit it. You're a weeb. You're just a weeb who wants waifus.
Look at my name.
But I want to just say, like, it was just so before, even a single day before the game launch, I was thinking, this is too good to be true. And while this is not a perfect game by any means, it's not a 10 out of 10, it's not even a 9 out of 10, it is an 8 out of 10. It is something that if you play, you will understand when I say you wouldn't mind spending money in this game. It is actually, and here's the thing, I will even go far as to say it's actually more value oriented than something like Valorant, which charges you for like 7,000 rupees for a single gun skin, okay?
So that's what I was gonna say, Aman. An 8 out of 10 that is free to play, and that can be completely free to play,
and that's available on your phone and PC, dude. Like, that's amazing.
Exactly. It's 5 GB on your phone, though, so keep space ready if you want. But
6 GB.
6 GB. So 8 out of 10 game that is free to play. And another thing, like, so you gave this another thing that the premium currencies you can grind. This is a thing that mobile games slowly a certain good smart developers are moving towards that because they've realized that they're burning out their audience very quick, and they've realized that instead of monetization, retention is the value that we must care about more, right? And that is where most companies have moved towards. Most smart companies are moving towards, because I said, if we keep retention, right, there will be a solid base among those retained people who will want to spend
eventually. Yes. And here's the thing, I agree to that logic, because when I was playing the game, over the last, I haven't spent a single dime yet, okay? Right. But at this point, I have already told a few of my friends, I wouldn't mind spending the game. And there's like a small battle pass that's available for 800 bucks INR, and there's a small 30-day kind of how should I describe it? They basically give you premium currency over 30 days. right?
Right.
If you buy, it's like $400, $399.
Is that a login bonus of sorts?
No,
Or
not login bonus. You can buy like 399 ka. This is not a battle pass exactly. There is a
it's
battle
a
pass system. There's a battle pass and a premium battle pass system. The normal
right.
battle pass is free. Premium battle pass
Yeah.
is like $800.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there is like a system in where you buy a bundle of swords for $400, and you get the you get some quite a bit of premium currency, but over 30 days.
Yeah, but you have to log in every. So that's basically you have to log in 30 days, right?
No, I
to
don't
get
think
it.
so. I don't think so. I think you will get it
I
regardless. If you
see.
buy that bundle, then you will
Yeah.
get it regardless of you logging in.
Oh, I got it. I got it. So see, that's again thing. That's promoting retention. Again,
Yeah,
that's
it's a slow drip of it's a slow drip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually goes back to the retention thing, and this is
Right.
something I want to agree with because I played mobile games. So one of the reasons I hate mobile games, for people who are watching, I've actually played quite a lot of mobile games. I keep trying out mobile games. One of the reasons I don't like it is some of the better games that are out there in terms of visuals, mechanics, they always pay to win, right? They always pay to win, and not just pay to win, but they will literally stop your progression if you're not paying them money, right? We've seen that in Clash of Clans. We've seen that in so many games. Clash of Clans is probably the biggest that I can think of, which basically after you reach something like what, town center level 8 or something, you can't go forward. You need to like either spend your entire fucking day on it, or like you'll get addicted in that way. You wait for energy, stuff like that. This game does not disrespect your time that way, is what I love, right? This game lets you do there's millions of things, like not millions, but you understand, there's a lot of things to do in the game at any given time. This does not stop your progression. There are bits where they will tell you, okay, the next quest is available after 2 levels, and they'll let you grind. But even while you're grinding, it's not a bad grind, is what I want to mention, because of the combat system, because of the exploration, because of there are a lot of side quests which are actually interesting, and yeah, all of that.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I am continuously surprised by this game, and this feels like a proper live service game. This feels like what Square Enix tried to do with Marvel Avengers but failed, right? Where Marvel
should be done.
Yeah, where Marvel Avengers feels very repetitive, very unnecessarily gimmicky in a lot of ways, and the world feels like a very repetitive again. The combat feels repetitive. The world also feels very repetitive in Marvel Avengers. I played the game quite a bit. This does not feel the same way. This feels very rewarding if you're exploring, if you're just standing around. It looks beautiful as well. It has that complete Zelda vibe, Breath of the Wild vibe going for it. This is a game. If you're a gamer, if you're into JRPGs, you should definitely try it. If you're not into JRPGs, you should also try this, because this is one of those games that you can just grind, play on your PC, and then say you have to go out of the city, right? And you can't take your PC or anything, right? This is a game you can play on your mobile, and it's good. It's a great game.
Worked very well. Yeah.
Yeah, and just so good. I have all but praises, and this game is deserving it because it is also China's biggest launch of it's the biggest launch of a Chinese game ever, and according to analysts, when this game launched, there were over 100k people watching it on Twitch, which is again a record for any Chinese game from what I'm aware.
It just exploded. Like everybody was playing it.
Yeah. And as of publication, the game has grossed more than $1.84 million on iOS, according to Kwame estimates. So yeah, that's making a lot of money. So yeah, respect your gamers, you will get a lot of money, and this is so good. I have nothing but praises for this game. I think everyone should try it out. It's definitely does not disrespect your time as a gamer. There is a little bit of grind, but if you play anything like World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online, or even Warframe, you will fit right in. It's very good.
Yeah, and if you're an anime fan, there's like plenty of waifus.
And the story is actually good, okay? Trust me when I say this. If you grind enough till level adventure rank 20, you will understand what I'm talking about. The story actually gets interesting, which I did not expect. For me, the story was like a 6 out of 10. It's like, okay, not bad, but not that great, right?
issues. So firstly, since my direct comparison with Breath of the Wild was with Breath of the Wild, I was actually not considering story at all, because
Yeah,
Breath of the Wild story is also garbage.
yeah,
And where I was a little bit bummed out was in Breath of the Wild, where to get a paraglider, you had to go to a monumental task and you go to the end, and then when you get the paraglider, it's such a satisfying feeling that you just come down all the way.
yeah. They give you
And
the
you're
paraglider
like,
first
you're
30
great.
minutes.
Like,
And like,
you're
yeah.
like, here's the paraglider. Which I understand. In free to play, you want to give people as many incentives to retain their interest and stuff like that. But I was like, you could have held back a little more and made it a little more exciting. So certain things are there, but again, for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
free to play game, I can't complain. I can't.
I think
It's
this is
better.
like a renaissance of free-to-play games.
Yeah.
I'm speaking too early, but I hope that Genshin Impact is a good model for future developers to build free-to-play games based out of, and even
I
cross
do.
mobile games, right, are based out of, because yeah,
I do think that's gonna. Sorry for interrupting. I do think that's gonna happen because as I've been playing a lot of mobile games, I have seen the good, smarter developers move to this model and gaining success with this. And I'm so happy that there is a big game that has exploded and made it a mainstream thing to make everybody think that this is a very good model to follow. Which means that mobile means good things for mobile games as well, right?
yeah.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't wait for. There's two regions in the game right now. There's one small region which you start out in Mondstadt, and then the Liuai region, which is basically it's the Chinese interpretation of that game. Like it's the interpretation of China in that game, basically, like small Chinese villages and stuff. And there's a third region coming very soon. I think it will come by January or Feb, which is quite amazing because the game just launched. And I guess they were already developing it and quite developed already, because even in the beta and closed beta, both the regions were available, like which we are seeing at launch. And we did not see anything about the third region. And I think they'll launch the third region at one go. And they're being very generous in the first few weeks of the game. So they're giving away primordial, like premium currency and stuff. Like, you've seen those GTA videos where they throw money like at hookers. That's how they're
Right.
giving away premium currency right now in the game.
I think that makes sense in the first 30 days. They'll probably get more conservative as you go to the later levels. Because
Yeah.
they know, like, if you've gotten them for like first 30 months, you've gotten them for a good chunk of time. So
Yeah.
it pays to be a little
Yeah.
lavish.
This is a live service game I'm really excited for, and the more I play it, the more I can't wait to see what they do with it in the future. So yeah, if definitely try out Genshin Impact. It's very good. It's worth your time. There have been small issues like clipboard snooping and stuff, and iOS kernel level anti-cheat, but we have already it's fine. Like kernel level anti-cheat, they've already disabled it. Clipboard snooping also has been disabled, and they seem like they have genuine intentions to make a good game and not a Chinese spyware. Right. So
That was a meme that was floating for a long time.
yeah,
Right?
and I can understand why a lot of people might have concerns with that because of the current Indo-China tensions and everything, and why and the fact that a lot of Chinese apps and hardware have been accused of similar things. But this does not, again, don't take my word for it, but this does not look like a similar title. In again, this is coming again from complete personal experience and all that, but check it out. It's definitely worth your time. It looks good, plays good, has good exploration, and you can play it co-op with your friends, which is also fun. Co-op isn't that great because yeah, it isn't as fleshed out. It plays more like a single player game, honestly.
Yeah, it does.
Even after I unlocked co-op at level adventure rank 16, it was because we did not have much to do. So if, for example, if you are so if I join your world in co-op, I can't open any of your chests. I can't the story missions get locked, not the side quest, but the story missions get locked. So there's a lot of locks in place for co-op, which I hope they unlock in the future. But
I think the advantage of live service is that you can go back and fix the issues based on the feedback that you get. And I hope they work on that, because co-op is going to be another major issue areas where people will be.
It already plays like a really good single player game. I just hope they can make it play like a good online game as well in the near future.
Yeah,
Right now, in online, the online gameplay isn't as isn't as interesting as a single player because of so many things locked in the online gameplay. But it is still some way to spend time with your friends if you
I
want,
think that was
right?
not their priority in the release, I suppose. I
Right,
think they
maybe,
just wanted
possibly,
to convince
possibly. I kind of agree with that because there are hints that in the next update, which is probably coming by January, February, there will be 8-player dungeons, right? So they're
Right.
getting full Destiny route in some ways. Destiny,
Yes.
Warframe, all those games. So yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like they saw a lot of Warframe and then built the monetization model on that, because it is very giving in a lot of ways and generous. So yeah, play it, play it, play it, play it. It's amazing. It's worth your time. It's definitely one of the big silent releases this year, entire year. And yeah, definitely worth your time. That's me fanboying about Genshin Impact. I'm done. Yeah, I think that's about it for today. A short podcast, 1.5 hours. Well, we ranted a
Yeah.
lot about the Paytm games for
We
a while.
we missed the topic though.
We missed a topic, which is a small topic, which is I just want to mention it's Ubisoft again.
Always.
In
Oh,
internals,
hmm.
yeah, I'll just go over to the article which says so. An internal investigation on, not investigation, internal survey of Ubisoft employees show that 1 in 4 Ubisoft employees have witnessed or experienced misconduct, which is still Ubisoft. This is a very recent article. It's on Friday. There's a lot of things going on. The Ubisoft, CEO Yves Guillemot himself actually conducted the survey and like stuff. So they're saying that there will be reforms. We don't know when or what will happen. Hopefully it happens.
1 in 4. How big is Ubisoft? How many employees are there, man? 1 in 4?
Yeah.
Jeez,
And
man.
the only question I wonder is does this internal survey also count the fact that also count Indian studios, right? And what does that mean for that? Uh, without blaming Indian studios in general, let me just say that India does not have the best reputation when it comes to uh, respecting
Industry.
women,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think we can all agree to that. With whatever is happening over the last few weeks and what's been happening over the last few years, and the fact that India is ranked as one of the worst places for women to be in in the world. So yeah, I hope not. Ubisoft, I hope not, because Ubisoft India Studios is probably one of the most safer places to work in for developers in the country, and I'd rather not have those kinds of um, scandals happening over there. But so I hope like whatever reforms are happening happen fast in Ubisoft. Ubisoft, regardless of what they're doing right now, whatever their games was, is still one of the companies that tries to do right. Again, like CDPR, right? It has a few bad apples. It's quite a few bad apples that got kicked out.
Quite a lot. 1 in 4 apparently.
Yeah, 1 in 4 apparently. But I don't know. Maybe it's me just being a bit biased towards Ubisoft because I've always seen them from my childhood days and I've played the games. But I hope like this gets fixed. But this was a short topic I would just want to bring up. Yeah,
It is worth talking about because that's a huge number if you, especially when you compare the number of employees. And again, if it is this prominent, sorry, I said 1 is 4. It's the 1 in 4 experience misconduct.
yeah.
So
Experience or
again,
witnessed. Yeah,
yes. So again, like when the CEO came out saying that he has no idea that these things were happening, we know that nobody bought it. This really needs to be fixed, man.
yeah, yeah,
Nothing more to say than that.
yeah.
1 in 4 is
Yeah, that's insane.
in,
Yeah,
yes,
it's 25% of your employees that you don't want 25% of your employees to experience or witness misconduct, and then saying that
and
in a fucking survey, right?
just see how many studios Ubisoft has all over the world and how many
Yeah,
thousands of employees are there.
yeah, thousands of employees. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's not a good position to be in, and I hope Ubisoft fixes it.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're going through a good time, but it is something like a family business over there. Ubisoft, the higher ups are like the board of mostly the main higher ups are family of Yves Guillemot. So yeah, hoping for the best, crossing my fingers. I don't want Ubisoft to again go down the line of EA. Ubisoft is bad, but not that bad yet. It's like I've seen Blizzard fall faster and EA falls faster than Ubisoft. Ubisoft has still tried to keep their head above the water while the things are getting flooded around him. So
the few people I've known that worked at Ubisoft had all positive things to say about how they were treated. So, I don't know how the scenario in there is completely. I don't have the holistic idea, so it's strange. But
yeah.
I don't know.
I hope. It's like I said. I hope Ubisoft accomplishes in their agenda of trying to fix all of these things. Yves Guillemot hopefully comes out and kind of takes all of this by its head and like takes the bull by its horns and all that, and tries to tackle the situation so that we don't get these articles in the next future, because these articles have been coming for the last 2-3 years now, and it's becoming worse every passing year. So I hope it's fixed by this point. Anyway, I think that's about it. For games, I think for games what we're playing, I'm just playing Genshin Impact. I'm playing a lot of Genshin Impact. I've stopped playing Valorant for that. Udit, do you want to say if you're playing? You're also playing Genshin Impact, but a little bit.
I'm also playing. I've just started playing Genshin Impact, and I think I'll continue with it, especially when you said it's gonna go. I'm interested to see how this model unfolds.
I'm interested to see how this game goes up in the long run. Like, I want to see what it does in the next 2 years. Like, if it's something like No Man's Sky that's still updating and still becoming better and better and better.
It will be like that. I think I'm pretty sure that
because they have a solid base, and I don't want this to go to waste. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This was our podcast this week. This is if you're watching it on Tuesday. By next week, we will have a lot of surprises. We have a new layout coming. We have a guest who has made the new layout for us, who will also be there. We have a few changes coming in, and we'll be also trying to build out highlights. The reason we haven't been building highlights for the podcast till now is because the layout looks bad, and it's too much editing for me. We'll just do it from next week. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. It's really appreciated for you guys to see us. If you guys have any comments, put it down. We'll get back to you. We'll even try to address some of these comments. We said before we want to have like an audience section in the podcast where we try to address these comments, probably in the beginning of the podcast, and then we go on. So if you have any comments on the podcast, if you want us to discuss any issue or anything, let us know. We'll try it out. I will see what we can talk about it, and we'll see if we can answer your questions. Thanks for watching. See you guys. Bye bye.